right. I don't have to worry about it. She does it. Okay, cool. This is the Planning Commission meeting to be held Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 6 p.m. The meeting is called to order. Would you please call the roll?
Alderperson Kastner.
Present.
Steve Rogers.
I'm here.
Brian Weiss.
Present.
Don Carlson.
Present.
Dave Schills.
Present.
Bob Krenz.
Present.
Mike Braswell.
Present.
Danielle Woljak.
Present.
And Mayor Knightsky.
Present. Moving along to item 2, I'd entertain a motion to approve the June 14th, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Carlson, second by Commissioner Schills. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving along to item 3, discussion regarding last common council meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were 2 public hearings in June. The Planned Unit Development Number 2 amendment, that was for the Loomis Layton, mentioning the possible industrial uses that was approved by the Common Council, and the Blaze Tobacco, also formerly known as the former Star Wars building, that was approved by Common Council as well.
Great, thank you. Item 4 is the signed plan appeal for Kohl's Sephora, an existing business located at 8750 West Surra Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kohl's, the signage code allows for 3 wall signs up to 481 square feet. This is considered under the big box section of our sign code. They do have 3 wall signs already, but they've joined with Sephora, which is a makeup product, and they do have 3 signs. They have one in the front that says Sephora plus Kohl's, which are the 2 in the front, excuse me, and the Kohl's in the back. They're requesting to place Sephora in the back facing the freeway, which would put them to 4 signs, 23 square feet more than the code allows, but given the proximity and visibility with the freeway, staff recommends approval of the requested waiver.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion
It is
carries.
better looking than the Muskego Coles, actually. Much better. Signage-wise.
Oh, signage-wise, okay.
Okay. Item 5A and 5B, special use permit and a site plan review for Dankhouse proposed CBD retailer located in the multi-tenant building, 3829 South 108th Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The applicant would like to lease 1,500 square feet within the tenant space in the Grandpa Frank's multi-tenant commercial building. They're proposing a CBD retail use. They would provide wellness products, CBD wellness products, lotions, gummies, seltzer drinks, and products for pets. Their proposed hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's not a tobacco store. They're simply focusing on CBD products. You can see with the staff visit to the site, there are definitely some maintenance issues at the property. A lot of garbage laying around that should not be there. The parking lot in some areas is in rough condition. And then oddly, their refuse area is being stored on Milwaukee County property, over their property line. We're not sure the Milwaukee County knows this, but it's just how the lot line falls. So with that being said, staff has a few recommendations to be taken care of within 1 year. Construct a new board-on-board refuse enclosure on their property. There should be sufficient space let me get the aerial photo here. Here on the south side of the property for the construction of a new refuse area. Staff's also recommending that the gravel drive lane and current enclosure location on the Milwaukee County is restored and parking lot repaired and be restriped within 1 year. Staff does recommend a few things be taken care of prior to occupancy. 1, remove all the trash and storage from the site, obviously. And then they do have light heads that are not pointed straight down, parallel with the ground level, as we always recommend. So staff's recommending to hold a public hearing August 16th.
Yes, I'm Bob Nackert.
I'm sorry.
just wanna point out that-
I'm sorry. Can you state your name clearly in the microphone for the recording?
Bert Nackert.
Okay.
We do have an easement for the property behind us, 25 feet from the county.
Okay, we did not have that in our possession prior to this. So I guess we would, Andrew,
get
we
you a
would like
copy
a
of it?
copy of that, yes.
All righty. I just wanted to point that out. We didn't just sneak in there.
I do,
And I'm working on the other stuff. I got a bad back right now, so it's not getting done as fast. The cleanup, my spring cleanup's taking till the summers.
You good with everything else?
How's that?
Are you good with everything else? Everything
yeah.
else? Make a motion to approve.
Second. Go
Second by
ahead.
Kastner. Commissioner Schultz, did you have under discussion?
I wanted to talk about the Dake house, sure.
The what?
The Dake house.
The use?
The use?
Use?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's subject to a special hearing, right?
Right.
All right. Public hearing, I should say.
Yeah. Are they here, the people?
It looks like it.
So there's two issues before the commission tonight. One is the site and landscaping where the business would go, and the other is the business itself, which is the special use that you're talking about.
But they're together in this,
They're actually two kind of separate items, but yeah, they
So
They mirrored.
You want to hold off on comments about business until?
no,
yeah, I guess,
we're taking them together, right?
yeah, I guess I have a question. Where'd you come up with the name Dake House?
Well, really, it's just been just common for cannabis, you know. Obviously, you know, as in hemp and marijuana are considered both cannabis, and I just feel like it was a, you know, catchy name as far as like the business goes and stuff like that. And obviously, you know, in the next couple of years, we'll, you know, possibly be legalizing and stuff like that. So it's just something for the future,
Okay.
pretty much.
Here's the two things that I pull out of that is that one, that CBD isn't your end goal. And two, the word dank is more for the young crowd, and I don't like attracting to a young crowd. That's my opinion. That's all I want to bring up. And then we have 16 of these stores within a 3-mile radius of where we sit.
This isn't a vape house, so.
It's
still selling CBD.
Yeah.
As well as
And-
products, but I think we all know where this is going. They're calling it dank house because it's connected to cannabis, and they're looking forward to the use of the legalization of marijuana, which I am not looking forward to the usage, or the legalization of marijuana.
I don't, go ahead, finish.
Because I just think it's we know statistically it is a gateway drug to other things, and we deal so much with all of the other stuff that I'd rather people not have such ready access to things dank.
Yeah, it's attracting to the younger demographic, and I don't like it.
I got a quick question. So is this your first ownership of
Correct. This will be my first storefront. Yes, sir.
first storefront? So you've never operated in this
Well,
space
I've been
before?
in the business for the past couple of years as far as like just helping out. I have a couple good friends who are successful and have businesses and are doing well by CBD and all the natural products as well. I mean, I'm not really looking forward to the legalization. It's just more so just for the cannabis plant itself. But yeah, I'm all in for natural products, CBD. I'm not going to be selling any tobacco, anything that will harm the body. Everything will be tested from seed to shelf, so I'll have test approved as well. So, sir.
So you're essentially going to carry the same stuff that they can get at the gas station across the street?
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
So what's the difference? Can you
Yeah.
articulate,
A
explain
lot
to
of
us
this
what,
stuff,
wait, what's
they're
different your product versus
Fake
products
lab
out there right now?
reports. Their packaging, everything, the product that's being put in there, they're not being straightforward with what is being produced.
So you're more honest than a gas station
Yes.
across the street?
Yes, sir. I'll be going through one of the best tests and lab reports in the country.
Are you a licensed distributor in the state?
Correct. Federally.
Can you grow it in the state too?
Federally, correct. Yes,
So
USDA.
that would mean that in the event that it was legalized, then you could immediately start selling it at this location.
Correct.
And that's not the case with most CBD retailers. Most CBD retailers don't have the distributorship
Yeah,
and
and they're-
don't have the ability to
Then
grow.
probably
when
not
it's-
even the special use permit as well. Like a lot of these are tobacco shops, vape shops and stuff that are just throwing it in there because they hear that it, you know, it's making a profit, so.
So potentially, if they approved your special use, you would be able to sell marijuana in the event that it was legalized.
Not a guarantee. No, not a guarantee.
Have the two requisites that the state requires with regard to distributing and growing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all depends on the license and how many they're trying to give out and who they want
As
to.
the law is written now, it's so, and this is just commentary, and people will disagree with me if they want to. Both parties are playing a game right now.
Right. I'm federally legal for hemp and strictly hemp.
Right, so and this isn't meant to be, the Republican administrations have put into place the growing, distributing, and sale of hemp, but not marijuana, and hemp is cannabis, right?
Correct.
The Democrats, but they have not legalized marijuana,
No, sir.
because that would be terrible, I think, as perhaps the pastor here believes, right? The Democrats, on the other hand, are very much in favor of legalizing marijuana, right? And it's in the papers, you see it all the time. So in the event that the Democrats convince a couple of Republicans to legalize marijuana, right? The Republicans can blame the Democrats for legalizing marijuana, and the Democrats will look like they were the ones that did it all, but all the people like you are in place to sell it. Is that a fair kind of statement, kind of?
In a way, yeah, but it's not a guarantee as in like that I'll be.
So the way the law is written now, though, because you have that license, you can grow and you can distribute, you can sell hemp products, but you can't sell marijuana.
No.
But in the event that they were to add comma and marijuana to all of the existing laws, you would
You
be
would
in a
have
position
to-
that you could grow it, distribute, and sell it at this location.
If you applied and were accepted, you'd have to reapply.
But the statute basically says that once you can grow it and you can distribute it, that
It's a
you
high
can,
likelihood he'd be blessed to do those things.
huh?
I said it'd be a high likelihood that he would be approved to do those things.
It would be a high likelihood.
Would he
Right,
have
not
to
a
reapply
guarantee.
to the city?
No. I don't, so this is the other issue.
Right.
Yeah.
So the special use is just for.
No, it's important, because I
well,
don't know
this-
if it should go there, because that kind of use at that location will probably create lines and everything else that aren't really maybe proper in all of our CBD retailer locations.
So
So I
we're,
would think we have to find a way to make all of the CBD come back for a pot license.
I think we need to be clear that even if you're a CBD retailer, that does not allow you, even though you have a distribution and the ability to grow and distribute and sell hemp, that does not mean that you have that ability with this special use.
That's my point.
At this location for marijuana in the event that it becomes legalized.
Dispensary, I think, would be the name.
But do we have the authority to make that an item here, or?
Be a legal question.
No, once he's approved,
I don't know the answer to that. I think we can schedule a special hearing and I think our city attorney can provide an answer.
Right, it's a matter of just an ordinance amendment for Chapter 21, listing your special uses and your permitted uses. We've done that many times. That's a policy that the city itself can decide which route they want to go. And so, yeah, we would just have to be, specific with the language of permitted, special, and specifically list that type of use.
so all the hemp language and the CBD language is precursor enough for me to be opposed to this, just because it takes us down a road that puts us right there where that, and we already, if we're just CBD alone, we've got 16 places already selling it right here. Within, what'd you say, a 3-mile radius of City Hall?
Well, there's more than that. I mean, like Carl pointed out, they're selling it in gas stations.
So I don't think, in the future, I don't think gas stations,
Fresh Time sells it.
what does?
Fresh
Fresh
time.
Time.
CBD oils and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Fresh Time is gonna be able to sell dope if it ever gets legal, and I'm not sure that gas stations are either. I shouldn't call it dope. That's dating me probably, and Mr. Shower, who I went to high school with.
I have a question. The agenda's been public for a while. Do you know if we've gotten any emails from
So
residents?
Feedback.
No, we
So
have not.
typically, we won't until there's a public hearing, and then the notice goes out to how many feet? 300 feet?
400?
400 feet around it, around
But
the,
it hits the property owners, not tenants, so with,
Well, you got the
you
condos.
really we're not gonna hit any residential virtually.
Did we get it?
the likelihood of the public hearing is that very few people will show up.
So do we get any feedback from police on this at all? Not that it rises that, but I was just curious.
So typically, the police will provide, they'll do a kind of a background check on the applicant to make sure that there's not, that you're not a really bad person, right? Okay. Are you a bad person? So they were right? So they won't make a determination on the use, right? They'll just look at the people that are trying to do the special use.
And provide feedback, right? I guess essentially is what you're.
Well, if he was a bad person, I just asked him in an open setting. If he lied to me, that would be bad, right?
Wouldn't lie, no.
He wouldn't lie. They would say that he had some,
Maybe you should
they would
ask him.
objectively tell me what he's done that could be viewed as something that's,
And you only anticipate you're gonna have 20 to 25 customers a day?
Just to begin, things may pick up, obviously, the location, you know, and whatnot, so,
are you Xavier?
correct, Xavier, yes, sir.
At CD?
Sir,
I have to ask, is that your born name?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's a
My
unique
last name or my first name?
Both of them. Xavier Bit CD?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's like, I'm watching Better Call Saul, right? I
I'm
was
not
just
too
like, Bit
familiar,
CD, you know,
unfortunately,
He's a
but
Bit
I've
CD.
heard.
Sorry, I
No,
digress.
no worries.
That's a good show.
Are you going in this alone, or do you have investors?
I'm all alone. Actually, I'm gonna be sole. I have a couple grants and stuff like that. Once my occupancy goes through, that I'll be able to apply for and more than likely will obtain. But yeah.
So there's really two issues here. Well, the first issue for the planning commission is with regard to the special use permit itself, which is item 5A. So this is a recommending body. So with regard to the special use permit, I should probably do that as a vote. I'd entertain a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to,
Second already,
Who
but
did-
do you
who
want to
did
do
that?
them do you want to
Special
rescind?
use permit?
Do you want to yeah, I have
did it.
your motion and Carl's second.
I thought that was for Coles.
No.
That was for this.
that was
You
for
made the
this.
motion for Coles also?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to.
No,
I
we-
withdraw my motion. I thought that was for Coles.
Okay,
So this is for this one, the special use permit.
A motion to
All-
approve.
okay.
Commissioner Carlson makes a motion to approve,
Approve.
And I'll second.
second by Alderperson Kastner. So we have a full house up here. Two of our members are alternates and can't vote, but can engage in discussion. This is the primary regularly seated planning commission. So would you call them?
Yes, Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Steve Rogers. Brian Weiss.
No.
Don Carlson.
Aye.
Dave Schultz.
No.
Bob Krenz.
No.
It will still go to the,
I'm going to vote
And Mayor
aye
Knightsky?
for the purposes of this, because, I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear,
I
Mayor.
voted aye.
Okay, all right.
So it's 4-4.
It's
right?
3 to 5, but
4-3 it passes. So usually, just so you know, when we go to planning commission and the elder persons are there, a lot of things get passed unanimously, so they pay special attention to, you know, right? This is just a recommendation.
Sure.
so the recommendation,
It still goes to the common council. This is,
but the recommendation for yes did not pass. So we now
oh,
need
but
a,
it's still so the recommendation is no, but they still have the ultimate.
is that how
authority.
you want to do it? Okay.
I voted yes.
Well, then
Yes,
it did
yes,
pass.
yes.
3 to 4.
No, it didn't
3
pass.
yes, 4 no.
Yes.
Or no.
3 no, okay.
So it didn't pass, so that's not a good thing
Correct.
sometimes,
I thought it was the other.
right? But ultimately, the common council makes that determination. Okay?
Right,
We did it last month when you weren't here too. We did that.
correct.
Okay, and then 5B is the site plan review, and we have the landlord here. So this is, the reason that the review is of his property is coming up, I mean, some of it is, I don't know how to say it. Some of the stuff you should be doing anyways, as you probably know, but I understand that Frank's closed after many years in the city, right? But with regard to some of the other repairs and things that are being required, those would be a requirement of his special use. So in order to rent to him, assuming it passes at the common council, those would be requirements, and the landlord would be bound by those. Okay? So this, I'd
Either that or
entertain
you
a
can ignore it.
motion
Doesn't pass.
to approve the site plan review, which are the things that the landlord needs to do in the event that his thing passes, but some of those things you need to do anyways.
Right, because what happens if It doesn't pass, then what?
So the things that he needs to do anyways,
Crash
he'll,
heap or what?
so some of the things that he needs to do anyways, like fix the parking lot and stripe it and those kinds of things, he wouldn't necessarily be required to do when it comes to things like the dumpster and
You're real good back there. My hearing's not that good. Did they turn it down, or are they
Huh?
recommending a no, or?
it's 3 to 4 no, the recommendation would go to a public hearing. Okay?
Okay,
So that doesn't mean that it's a no. That means that the common council ultimately determines whether it passes or doesn't.
right, okay, and that's in August?
I don't know when it is. When is it? August? August
August
6th would be the public
16th,
hearing.
16th.
15th?
16th.
Sorry,
Sorry.
16th. So August 16th, in this room, there will be a common council meeting, and there will be a public hearing. And the 5 alderpersons that sit up here, he's the only one alderperson that sits on this commission, will vote on whether or not there should be the special use should be granted.
All right.
Okay? And people will be notified of that hearing, and they will come and, right?
All right.
So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I see people in the audience counting heads. So the Plan Commission is a committee of 7 members with 2 alternates. So 7 members vote, 2 alternates engage in the conversation, but do not vote this evening. And this body is a recommending body.
Right.
And the ultimate decision, as the mayor noted, goes to the Common Council.
All righty, thank you.
does that make sense? So now we're voting on what you have to do in the event that he gets a special use. I know it seems a little
Did
archaic.
we make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. This is with regard to the site and landscaping and the requirements of the special use and some of the other stuff he has to do anyways that we're gonna stay on top of him to do, okay?
It feels really weird
All,
to approve or to vote in favor of this now, but yes, I'll vote in favor.
well, so what happens is we tend to do things concurrently or in parallel paths, right? As opposed to some communities will say, well, first you gotta do this and that's 3 months, and you gotta do this and that's another, and by that time, the train is passed, right? Because that's how it works.
The tenant has left the building.
Behind it, the tenant has left the building or something, so, all right. Can you call on this one?
Yes, Alderperson Kastner,
Site plan.
Steve Rogers,
Aye.
Brian Weiss,
Yes.
Don Carlson,
Aye.
Dave Schills,
Aye.
Bob Krenz,
Aye.
and Mayor Knightsky.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. 7
All right.
passes 7-0.
All right, going on to item 6 is a planned unit development site plan amendment for a sunroom addition to a condominium within the Clayton Crest development located at 5425 South 45th Street, submitted by Christine Lucia, owner, and Shavonda Green, doing business as Champion Window Company of Milwaukee. So it's my understanding that the condominium association has approved this?
That is correct.
Then I see no reason to stand in its way. I'd make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by,
Doesn't matter.
I'll take it.
It wasn't me.
I'll go with Commissioner Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, item 7, ordinance to amend the official Greenfield zoning map by rezoning the property located at 5401 West Layton Avenue from C2 Community Commercial District to Planned Unit Development District. And 7B is a site landscaping and architectural plans for Verde Terrace Apartments, a proposed new construction multifamily housing development to be located at 5401 West Layton, submitted by Michael A. Testa, doing business as Ogden and Company, and Jonathan Ross, doing business by that same name. Actually, that's a Partners LLC. It's a different corporate structure. Well, actually, it's not even a corporate structure. It's a limited liability structure. Okay. So this is,
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everyone's aware, this proposal was before the Plan Commission 2 months ago in May for a conceptual plan. I described the project and the Plan Commission gives some feedback to the developer. No voting takes place. So the applicant has chosen to officially apply for the rezoning and for the actual project. And so what we have before us this evening is an official application to rezone the parcel and to construct the multifamily apartment complex. So we'll start off discussing the zoning and the ordinance that is drafted at this point. We have a 5-acre site. Everyone's well-versed with this. River Falls Family Fun Center, just to the west of Conkle Park and to the east of Greenfield High School. The site has been for sale for well over 3 years, and Ogden has submitted an offer to purchase. So their first application is to rezone the parcel. Today, it's zoned C2 Commercial District. To the east, you have Park. To the south, you have planned unit development for existing multifamily. To the west, you have I Institutional for the school district. And then to the north, kind of a mixture, you have Meyer. You have the new car wash here to the north, which is zoned commercial as well. Fire station, library, police department. So kind of a mixture in the area. What can you do in the C2 commercial district zoning? Today, anyone could purchase this property, and permitted uses would be basic office. And these are just some examples, but they summarize the uses pretty well. You could build a grocery store, financial institution, office, outpatient care centers, beauty salon, without any public hearing required. Of course, any architectural design site plan needs to go before Plan Commission and Common Council, but those are uses that do not require a public hearing. Today, in the C2 district, there are other uses that do require a public hearing, such as, for example, dealerships, nursery gardens, liquor store, tobacco, CBD stores, car wash, gas station, ambulatory surgical emergency center, so in other words, a hospital, recreational sports center, which is what it's historically been used for, a restaurant, bar, auto repair, veterinary services, funeral homes. Again, these are just a good sample of what is allowed in that existing zoning as it is today.
As a special use, which would require a public.
Correct. So the city of Greenfield, as every city in the state of Wisconsin, is required to have what we call a comprehensive plan. The Plan Commission has a recommendation. The Common Council ultimately votes on it. We hold public hearings. We have informational meetings. It's quite a lengthy process, but in 2008, the city adopted its comprehensive plan and identified this particular parcel as planned business. That doesn't mean that's what has to happen. That means that's what the city's forecast. If you got your 8-ball out, we predict that that would be the appropriate use in the future if someone were to rezone it. The state requires every municipality to update their comprehensive plan. The city did that in 2020 and identified this parcel as planned mixed use, which is a very open-ended category. That means you could have a combination of commercial uses, residential uses, one or the other. But it's the largest umbrella of uses identified in the city's comprehensive plan. So the request to rezone this to planned unit development is a layer of zoning that's very specific for that site. The city draft an ordinance that has specific restrictions for that particular parcel or multiple parcels. What we've done in the recent times is we had a specific planned unit development district created for Loomis and Layton development that said these are the types of uses that could go there, these are the setbacks, this is the density restriction. We did the same thing for 92nd and Cold Spring just last month, and that public hearing is next week. And so for this particular project, the draft ordinance that's before you lists specific standards for that parcel. So the minimum open space ratio, today our general planned unit development zoning district identifies you must have a 0.40 ratio. The maximum gross density today is, lost my spot here on this. 25 units, it's 12 units per acre. So historically, in recent times, I should say, Forte at 84 South, the city approved multifamily development with a density of 40 units per acre. The Cobalt development at Loomis and Layton is also about 40 units per acre. So this particular project is proposing 51 units per acre. So because you write this ordinance specifically for this parcel, specifically for that project, that's why it's drafted as 51 units, because that's what they're proposing. The standard planned unit development for residential development setbacks are 25 feet. The proposal does meet that setback for front, side, and rear. And then the rest is just pretty much standard language, and the proposal does meet all of these requirements that are already in today's planned unit development section of the zoning code. So just wanted to point out, this is a higher density than Forte and Loomis and Layton have proposed, or actually have built and been approved for, by about 10 units per acre. So the developer and their partner architect have submitted some drawings and some spatial pictures to kind of show you this is what it would look like when all said and done is developed from the perspective of Conkle Park. They're reacting to some of the comments that were received during the conceptual plan review, and I think just generally in the public, it's well known that this is a hot topic on social media, and so they wanted to just show this is, when all said and done, this is what it would look like if you're looking west on Layton Avenue. So I'm going to just flip through a lot of pictures that they took the time and a lot of money to show you and provide for you the perspectives, different perspectives, and so I don't really have much commentary to go with these, but just kind of going through them. It's a 4-story building proposal with underground parking. This would be the site layout. Access from Layton Avenue. This is an existing drive curb cut right now. They're proposing one additional curb cut, which would be a right turn out only to Layton Avenue going eastbound. So 2 different buildings. This would be the underground parking layout. They have the connection between building, the western building and eastern building, that the vehicles can cross between the two. This is your standard floor plan set up with the unit layout. And then you can see it's a total of 257 units. Indoor parking of 282, surface parking 129, total parking of 411. There is a requirement in our zoning code that 50% or more of the parking must be underground, and they do meet that requirement. So again, just some of the architectural renderings that they have provided. There is a pool on the property. So this is just a little detail about the architectural design and materials. The building would be constructed of 2 materials, for the most part brick and hardy plank cement board siding. They do have fiber cement panels on some of the window openings. Every unit would have its own sliding door and balcony with frosted glass railings. And so with that, I would conclude my presentation. There would be a public hearing scheduled for the rezoning on August 16th.
So under discussion, there's 2 things. In this case, one thing doesn't beget the other necessarily, right? Although it could. So I think because this is subject to a public hearing, and again, because these are following parallel paths, we have to look at the special use, or it's actually not the special use, it's the zoning change that's referred to. And assuming that there is a zoning change, then look at the site landscape and architectural plans. Does that sound like a fair way to do that? So when it comes to amending the official Greenfield zoning map, essentially to multifamily, right? I'll open it up for discussion. Just quickly, under the comprehensive land use plan, is multifamily development a land use?
It is, you're right. It's a separate category, you're right.
And the one for this one is mixed use.
Plan, yep,
But
correct.
in the bigger developments in the city, like 84 South and the one on Loomis and Layton, the mixed use, while it contained residential development, it also contained other uses.
You're correct, yep.
Just to be clear about that. Okay, so
as an apartment use at this location on Layton Avenue, across from a grocery store, across from a library, across from municipal buildings, I think would be an excellent adder to our community. I think it'll do two things. It'll lower the median age within our city and increase the median income within our city. I believe that the people that are living here are going to have huge amount of disposable income to spend within our city. So I like the idea of having apartments there.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's, I expressed that when they came forth with the idea a few months back. I think it's a great fit for it, for the location. I like all about it. I think we could upgrade the architecture design of it personally, just when you compare it to some of the new dwellings we've seen around, not only Greenfield, but Brookfield and downtown. To me, it's a bit more institutional looking, but that's, again, a personal opinion. I'd like to see something a little nicer. I'm all for this project.
Does the density matter that much to the city? That it's 20% over density for,
I think that's a natural thing. We're seeing higher density across the country. We're seeing more and more people going to this type of dwelling. I have no issue with the density.
Well, I would think that with the density, right, if we're looking to increase, then that's just gonna set precedent too, so. But I also don't feel it's the right spot.
Growing, and we need to find housing for people, for the population.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome apartment. I would want to live there, but I think it's the wrong.
It's not the right spot, right? It's a good forklift and put it somewhere else is great. Here,
100%.
I don't think it's the right location.
What do you want, a doggy daycare there?
Sure. No.
Really?
A
No.
doggy daycare would require a special use.
No,
right?
but no,
I mean,
obviously I don't want a
gotcha.
doggy
I mean,
daycare.
I just want to be clear that there are.
We have an asset within the city. We have a park.
Sure.
So do we want to capitalize on that asset the most we can with apartment with good, intelligent people living in it? I'm tired of people saying that people that live in apartments, no shame to you because you lived in one.
I live in an apartment. I
I
don't
know,
mind apartments.
that they're stupid or they're poor and they don't care about
But I don't think
us.
anybody said that. I think that everybody's in agreement that it's a nice place.
So just let me just kind of reel this all back in. I'll recognize one person to speak, and then they can speak, and then somebody else can speak, and then they can respond to that. I mean, just to be clear, right? It's, from my perspective, and I have to be very careful because I'm going to be presiding over the public hearing that this is going to be going to. Okay, so I want to be very clear, but when it talks about rezoning, I want to talk about some of the legal stuff, right? From my perspective, it's the densest apartment complex in the city. And it's the densest complex in the city next to a park that was predominantly green space. And from my perspective, I don't like that. Doesn't mean so you could make it less dense by knocking off a floor, right? Make it 3 floors, right? But it's still going to create an impervious surface over an area that was predominantly green space. That's my one thing. The second thing is the mixed-use part of the comprehensive land use plan. In parts of the city where we have multifamily development, right? The comprehensive land use plan is for multifamily development. In those areas where we invoke the mixed use, they're usually very large areas where we're trying to create living and working and eating and going in that kind of stuff. So 84 South is a perfect example of a mixed use development. It's not all residential, it's all a whole bunch of all sorts of other things, right? It's generally speaking. That doesn't mean that it can't be used here. I'm not suggesting that. So when the comprehensive land use plan came through, we could have looked at, and we could, at one point, we're going to be looking at zoning throughout the city. This could have been changed to multifamily specifically. It could have been, it wasn't. Because at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen ultimately with this site. Right? So that's why it was sort of left at mixed use. So that's just me. That's a lot of density.
No, it is a lot of density by far. I do like the location, the fact that it's a mixed use, but it's leveraging Meyer across the street. It's leveraging the park next to it. It's leveraging the public space across the street. The parkway behind it. I think it's a perfect location for it. Now, if folks want to argue about the density and bring the density again, I'm fine. I think this type of development there is a perfect fit.
So can I ask a question? What's a long-term, right? Long-term expectation and, right? Once it's up, and ain't nothing coming down, right? So we've lost green space, right? And I think that's a concern, but okay. So we lose green space, it's up, and then it changes hands from to whomever, right? And then what? You know, because that's the city center, right? It's where we draw fireworks, we draw everything to Conkle Park, right? So.
Yeah, maybe I have, because I'm the chair of this committee, I have the ability to say stuff. So when we started doing this, and some of you I've been with Carl 17 plus 7, that's 24 years I've sat next to you in one way, shape, or form, which is amazing.
It really is.
Alderperson Carlson, right, way back when, right? All of you you were on the planning commission, and your mom was on the planning commission before I was even on the planning. Something, right? You're the longest serving person up here, right?
Carl is, I'm second behind Carl.
Second, okay. And these two are new, and I'm sort of, I guess I'm becoming an old person. But when we started all of this, way back when, we started with, remember, Forward Thinking Greenfield and Forward Greenfield and all these people in the 80s and 90s, and Greenfield is a schmucky place with, Billy's Old Mill, which I admit that I went to maybe a couple times, and they had a strip club, and they had seemingly development that just was everywhere, and there, Best Buy, was there, and Circuit City was behind the restaurant, and why did they ever put it there? Had all this bad sort of lack of planning going on, right? And all of us, over the course of time, have tried, my only goal as mayor is to make the city a better place, right? And we went through the comprehensive land use plan in 2005. That was the first time we did it, right? Because we did it later than everybody else was supposed to, because our city always did things last. I don't know why that is, right?
We did.
Right? And at the time, people would say, Greenfield doesn't take care of its neighborhoods or roads, we should probably fix that. Greenfield doesn't plan about where things generally should go, understanding that it's a fluid economy and a fluid marketplace and all that stuff. Greenfield doesn't have a downtown. It's not like cute like Greendale or cute like Hales Corners with a Bosch on the corner, or Elm Grove, or Shorewood, or Fox Point, or any of those other places. We don't have anything that we can say is the center of the city. Even this city hall is located in a place where it's like, where is it? Right? And the only reason it's here is because the town hall used to be across the parking lot. That's the only reason this is here, right? This doesn't create city center. This doesn't create anything. So what we've tried to do over the course of time is we've tried to create that Layton is sort of our main street, and it takes some time to do that because parcels are all over and development's been really kind of crappy, right? Kind of. We can agree, sort of, maybe. We tried to create a city center, right? We tried to create a place within the community, and we have Kowicki that provides a west side, little community place, right? But we've tried to create a city center where there's an amphitheater where people can go, where there's a farmer's market that people can go on Sunday, where there are concerts on Friday night, right? All of that stuff we've tried to do. And that all takes sort of like green space. That you don't want to go there and feel like you're downtown, right? Right? You want to feel like there's green. I mean, Conkle Park next door to this is 32 acres. We're in the process, because we've been working really hard to get grants and to do all this stuff, to put a pond in and to finish off the park and to a paths in. And there's no doubt that the people that live in this apartment building would love to walk through that park, right? But part of it is the people that live here would love to walk through that park, and the people that live here would like to have an open kind of green space. And, Christy, and I don't disagree with anything Christy said. All the things she says about this piece of property as it's presently zoned commercial, there are permitted uses. A liquor store could go there if somebody bought it, but it would have to go through a public hearing first. And I doubt that the people that frequent, I mean, I'm guessing Commissioner Rogers would probably say, we shouldn't have a liquor store in the park or next to a park, right? I would bet that that would be hard for a common council to do.
I wouldn't go
But it
that-
doesn't mean that a grocery store couldn't go there too, or that a Starbucks couldn't go there, and a Starbucks would require a special use as well. And we would make sure that it had the proper stacking, unlike the one on Loomis and Layton where we
Told them.
begged them to put more stacking in. And they didn't, and it's a cluster, right? So from my perspective, and I'm completely staying objective, I don't vote at the common council unless there's a tie. And I'm assuming everyone's gonna be at that meeting. Right? But from what I've been trying to accomplish and what we've all been trying to accomplish for a really long time is to try to provide a sense of community, to try to provide a city center where, you know, where the people within our community go and enjoy themselves and don't feel like they're in a highly dense apartment building. No offense. So that's all I got to say. I think this, and I said this the last time at the conceptual review, and I'm not trying to be mean about it. I think they're a great developing company. They're a great company. I've heard, you know, the stuff that they do is great stuff, right? I mean, I think the architecture could be better, like someone said, right? And if this were somewhere else, I would welcome this in the community. Right. Completely. But basically, paving over a 5-acre triangle, because if you look from above, there's not a lot of green space, right? Right next to our park, where this guy playing softball could probably launch one off one of the windows. I'm not sure that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And once
It's
you
gonna be a
change, and
target,
once
too.
you change the zoning, and if the zoning isn't, you know, the zoning would have to be, you know, with the PUD that, you know, right, that we're talking about. These guys could say, well, you know, it got a little bit more expensive, the city's not paying for it anymore, so now Joe Schmuck, Indiana Real Estate Investment Trust, multifamily developer comes along and says, hey, look, I have 10 units per acre here. Why don't you come build? That's what I worry about. Mr. Schultz,
So
and that's
putting
all
on
I'll
my,
say.
so putting on my Park and Rec board hat, I think about things like baseball, the lights, the noise, the amp. I don't want somebody 1 year, 2 year down the road standing right in front of you talking about how they don't like those things. And all of a sudden, we're trying to think about how we can work around these people who now live there. The people at the park want to do their park things. And I can see that there's the opportunity where people will try to interfere with those activities that occur at the park. Another thing is, just think about the 4th of July. We shut that down. We shut that down for a couple hours. 257 units, you can't go in and out of your place. Are they gonna like that? No. They're gonna stand in front of you and say, what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna help us?
No.
Dan Jansen Fest, right?
Yeah,
4th of July parade. Oh,
I'm baffled by that. I mean, you got Summerfest that is next to condos that are $1 million. I mean,
that's
I mean,
downtown and that's Greenfield.
and they can't get out for the entire weekend damn near. Have you gone down there and drove?
And they complain about it.
Well, let them complain, but they knew what they were getting into.
yeah, I think it's a little
Again,
bit different. That's a denser right off the
I
water.
know, but
That's
it is,
a
but the
completely
same
different
scenario.
situation.
There's
But you're
so
still-
many entrances and exits for Summerfest.
Right.
Once you get down to
This
the
is
island, there
two.
really isn't.
This is one entrance and one exit.
Carl was talking about the reasonable intelligence of the people that would probably be renting these places, and they're reasonably intelligent, they're moving in right next door to a park and a band shell and all of that. You would think they would have, I just trust humanity enough to believe that they'd have enough good sense to know that there's gonna be late night ball games and concerts.
Can I just tell you something that if you're me, right, and new things get developed next to old things, or old things new people move into old things next to new things, that faith in humanity that I so want to embrace, that you've just espoused, doesn't exist. I can assure you that I get calls and emails and snide comments on Facebook and Nextdoor. In fact, this guy gave me one once. About things, right? So as much as I want to value
think a
humanity,
good,
especially with the new telescope that's showing us new universes and all this other stuff.
Well, don't name the name
I
because
think
you
a good,
can't.
I think a good parallel of that is Candy Cane Lane. My in-laws lived at Candy Cane Lane. They thought that'd be great. They liked that for about one day of Candy Cane Lane. And they realized, we don't like this. That's the same thing. We don't know what these people are gonna do when they move in here. Yes, you should have the withal to understand that this is what I'm building next to, this is what I'm moving next to. But then all of a sudden, I don't like these fireworks, I gotta work tomorrow morning. Again, they're gonna be standing in front of us and asking of us, what can we do about it so that we can actually calm things down? Do we have to have the lights on until 10 o'clock at night? Because I'm trying to sleep. I'm worried about the things that happen on in that park. Again, putting my Park and Rec Board hat on. There are gonna be people, and I don't want the activities that go on in there to be prohibited, because all of a sudden we're starting to offend people or they don't like it.
Does the Park and Rec Board member realize they're gonna get $750,000 to make improvements to Park and Rec facilities?
I saw that in there, but is the juice worth the squeeze?
I think
It's
it's.
the longevity
I
of
think,
it. Yeah,
I think it is. I mean, I'll go back to 25 or 27 years that I've been doing this. 27 years ago, I would have looked at this and said, hell no. I would have looked at an 8-family building and said, no. Because at that time, I don't think we had any construction of any apartments for half a decade. I think the first apartment complex was a 2-family. I think Scott Yelp built it in our city.
No.
It was one of the first ones that was ever constructed.
Briar.
No, it was
the
after,
Wicks.
after that, then there was a lull for half a decade at least. Anyhow,
And
so
now
that
we
was the
have
thing
4.
then. And now Mike and I were at a meeting, and he said, well, Alderman Caston's been on the commission, he's been on for 22 years doing alderman stuff. And I looked back at her and said, and she said to the crowd, she says, we need change. And I look back and I look at her and I said, well, I have changed over 22 years. I have developed as the city developed. I want the city to move forward with some kind of prospect of having some youth in our city. Not another senior living community, not that I don't like those or I don't like seniors, but we certainly have enough of seniors. I mean, I'm damn near there, and my wife works in one. It's what we have, but we don't need an entire city of senior development. We need diversity. We need the wherewithal to have the ability to go to a restaurant that we all enjoy going to, and if they don't have people that go to restaurants in our city, we won't have those restaurants in our city. We need these kind of people, as good or bad as whoever you want to think they are, in our city. And you look at that, I looked at, here again, I'm changing.
894.
I'm looking at, what we did on Wimmer's property at Falcon Glen, I think it's called. It's right next to the football field. I looked at that back then and I was like, I think you're crazy for building it. I don't think anyone's gonna wanna live there in those $2,000 a month apartments that look over a football field, that have band practice, that have football, soccer, everything else that goes on, baseball. Yeah,
Every game of baseball hits it.
and I've never had a complaint on them. I mean,
Right behind the Greenfield football field, and I do get those lights in my bedroom every time they play.
How many times does the Greenfield football team play up there with the lights on?
A couple times a week, I think. The lights are on.
well, they got youth football, you got everything else, you got,
Soccer,
yeah.
JV,
I just don't think it's,
Probably not as much as the softball field.
so,
Of course.
And I think the softball players will live in these facilities. I think they'll go to the games, they'll look, hey, that'd be like Tosa Hart Park. I mean, there's apartments right across the street from that as well, and they have to put up with the lights. And then they have their nightlife of within there, and they have businesses that thrive. I think this is an excellent thing.
People move downtown because they want the downtown ambiance and all.
now they can move to Layton Avenue and have the downtown ambience.
There you go.
Right, that's what I'm saying, Leighton, yeah, so this,
Closer to their family.
So do you want to hear one of the emails I got today? You want?
Or to Greenfield High School.
Can I-
My kids just walk to school.
Exactly.
Well, the issue isn't,
The cops are across the street
And the fire department.
And paramedics.
and a car wash.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
And maybe a motorcycle storage facility.
Isn't it, Shouldn't we let the tenant
I won't read
decide if they want to live there or not?
I would think.
Well, yeah, okay, so you build it, right?
So
Will
let's
they
say-
come? Okay, so then what
I
happens?
have no doubt that people will want to live here. I have no doubt about that.
Without a doubt.
It's just, is this the right place for it? If this was
Fair.
in the 17 acres behind House of Harley Davidson on the hill,
Right.
I'd say this is awesome. Go do it.
Yeah.
I would make the buildings look a little bit nicer, but that's what I would do. That's it.
We're not starved for apartments. We have 3 other developments in the works.
I just think
that
this
are
is a
I
before
don't
us.
know if that, any of those other ones are a better location than this. I think this is a better location than a 92nd and Cold Spring.
I think
this
that
is
was
the worst-
Leighton and
awesome.
Loomis.
This is the worst location for long use planning within the city.
Agreed.
Period.
Be better.
Because it's next to the one place where the community gets together,
Correct.
in my opinion.
What would you like?
I don't care. I don't want
No, you
10.
do care, 'cause you don't
No,
like this. So
I
what
want
would you like?
whatever, so it's not up to me to
I'm asking
choose.
your
Opinion.
It's zoned C2, whatever is C2 can
you-
go
you
there.
told-
If Starbucks wants to come in and build a Starbucks there as a C2 thing, and they go through the special use process, then we can discuss that. If a little grocery store wants to go in there, we can discuss it. If Xavier Bintwitty wants to build a CDB place on this site, it's a special use, then we can go through the special use process. It's not up to me to decide what to go there. It's up to us to decide what shouldn't go there or what could go there when people come before us. So I've heard this 3 years, it's been for sale for 3 years. Well, it's been on and off the market for 3 years, and for 2 years it was operating, and last year it wasn't. Or this year it's not operating.
Yeah,
This year's not operating.
right.
But that's not my problem. That's not my problem. And I don't have to say, well, it could be vacant for 7 years, or it could be vacant forever. The little windmill golf course thing, where you have to hit the ball through the windmill, one of those blades could fall off, right? And I could get a complaint, the windmill blade fell off.
I think
In
they
10
already
years from
have.
now, that could be the case. But it would still be generally green space.
Yeah, well, it's been for sale for 3 years, but prior to that, the one section had been, for sale for a while. I remember there was talk of
By
putting
land
a,
lease.
putting a an auditorium over there.
It was only 0.9 acres or something, and it wouldn't fit.
So a car dealership could go in there.
Well, car dealer is subject to a special use. And I'm not sure that any car dealer is, do you think that the common council, it's a special use, right?
I'm just saying.
A Midas muffler shop could go in there, but do you think a Midas muffler shop is going to be well received by the common council next to a park?
That's the green space if a car dealership goes in there.
No, well, sure, if a hospital went there that was 30 stories after a special use hearing, that would ruin the green space for sure. But it's all subject to the control, which is in the jurisdiction of the common council, to determine what would be appropriate in a parcel currently zoned C2.
Just to prove that I'm not all poo-pooing this, I think about it, if it was down on the east side of the park, and at the end, you're not placing it in between everything Greenfield. I think it's location, wrong church, or right church, wrong pew. You're putting it in the middle of everything Greenfield. You got your historical society, you got your baseball fields, and we're gonna plop that in between.
Pull up the Google map, right? You got baseball fields from the high school, you got our baseball fields in between.
That's a good point, though.
And I know one of the arguments was it brings commerce and money into the city, but the market, all the people that I've talked to, they're like, there's no way I can afford that rent. So how would that actually bring an influx of funds into our community?
My daughter lives in 84 South.
Okay.
She's a nurse. They charge her $1,300. They just raised her rent to $200 for the next lease.
It's only been there for how long?
It's a 1-year lease. You
Okay.
get a bump up after. They have a waiting list. Their 3 bedrooms are like $2,200.
wild.
They have a
It-
waiting list for tenants. They
it's-
can't, they,
Yet somehow Outback is starved for,
Outback is jammed all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
I
bad
told my
example.
daughter that she's
And I thought the same thing, but I just went there 2 Fridays ago, and it was 20% capacity. I was worried.
yeah?
They're always steady. Fresh Time's always busy over there. Total Wine
And obviously, this will help the busyness of those dealers.
Again, it's not a bad apartment, it's where you're putting it.
It's where you put
I love where I put it. I mean, you go to Pebble Beach Golf Course and there's houses next to it.
So this
Shouldn't
is
it be
what's
better if there's
That's what's
nothing?
beautiful about this discussion. The whole discussion that we're having right now, is this the right place to put it, to change the zoning to put it there?
Yeah.
That is
Right.
the whole question before us.
I 100% think it is. And if I want to see the future of Greenfield, that's the way I see it. I didn't see this as the future of Greenfield 22 years ago, but in 2022, this is the way I see Greenfield being economically viable in the future for my children, because they'll want to live here. Without this, they don't want to live in my house. They don't.
It's too
I
big.
mean,
It's too
Well, they
big.
got Leighton
It's
and
too
Loomis to
big,
go
but yeah.
to. They got Leighton and Loomis to go to, right?
But obviously, that's full.
They got, I mean,
Actually,
maybe
this
Spring
is
Mall
better
will turn
location,
into,
90
wait, what about Spring Mall?
So this is.
Yeah, this is the, for the
So,
change.
again, this is a
Recommendation to
recommendation. This will go to a public hearing. It's analogous to the CBD issue, right? So in this case, this isn't a special use we're voting on. This is a formal change that we're recommending or not recommending to the zoning
Yeah.
for this parcel.
Christie, have there been any other proposals other than the apartment building a few years ago?
There has not. Correct.
Silly question, and, because I don't understand the government.
I don't
Could we
either.
do a referendum that we take it? If the citizens
So
of
what-
Greenfield.
So I'm not in a position to be buying stuff, and I'm not in a position to be interfering,
because people are talking
tortiously
about what can we do
interfering
with
with with that. No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, I just
At
a question.
the last time at the conceptual review, right? So changing it in zoning from C2 to multifamily, which is, right, makes it much more valuable, right?
Absolutely.
Right? I don't even want to get into that discussion. It's zone C2. I don't think it fits there, this use, or the zoning for this use. So I don't even want to go there.
Okay.
That's me.
Well, just people
And
are
I'm not,
asking,
I mean,
people are
I'm not in a
asking, what else
position
do we
where I
put
got
there?
money to be buying this. There's
Right.
land across the street that's for sale on 51st and Layton, an acre, that they want 600,000 for, right? 611,000, 10,000.
Are they actually, finally?
There's a sign up, and they send me a letter saying, do you want to buy it? So, and I'm like, I don't have $600,000. Well, you could say, Carl will say, well, you could have 800,000 here, we could buy the land across the street, and you can increase your green.
Well, no, actually, I think I'm looking forward to some good development across the street that isn't city.
That's C2.
That
too.
would be an
That's C2
excellent,
as
their
well.
coffee shop might go there, or some kind of
I don't think it will.
auxiliary.
So Starbucks
use
is,
of-
I don't know.
I don't,
I don't know.
I don't either, but
So
I
let's,
think
let's
this.
call the, do you have any comment? Does everybody?
No,
Do
can I,
developers want to make a statement?
I,
I,
There's too many people talking.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying, do the developers want to make any statements?
please do this,
Be here next week.
I think is the statement.
Hi, my name is Mike Testa. I'm representing both the seller and Ogden and Company. So just
What
to
was your
address-
last name again? Repeat.
Testa, T-E-S-T-A.
I see it. Okay.
So for starters, I just wanted to address a couple of the comments that were made regarding, the location and how this might affect different activities in the park with real-life examples. We recently completed a development very similar in size and stature to this one in West Allis. Christie's very familiar with it. It is directly across the street from State Fair Park. And we also, at that location, only have 2 entrances and exits to the building. We have to deal with shutdowns every year. It's constant, and we have, and it's something that we, as the largest property management company in the state of Wisconsin, have come to deal with and have become professionals at dealing with, is communication with our tenants and making sure that everybody that's moving into these things understands that these are things that they're going to have to deal with as they're there. You can ask anybody at the city of West Allis. We have not had one person complain about noise, about traffic, about lighting, or anything having to do with State Fair Park, which is great, and it's a lot larger of an issue than everything that's going on at Conco Park. Additionally, regarding, where was I going with that? Yeah, let me see that for a second. Yeah, so regarding complaints, that's not something that we see anywhere with that site. You know, and we get a lot of residents who come in and are excited to live there because of its proximity to all those amenities. I know I said this last time, I personally live there and I love it. I'm not leaving. You know, Mr. Mayor, I promised you last time, if you let us build it, I will be the first person moving in, and that still stands.
I'm not. I don't
We can write that in if you need to. You know, I know there's concern about the band shell, and, you know, noise complaints. The band shell actually faces away from our property, so, in our proposal here, so, and is, actually, if you look at it and to compare it to something a little more reasonable, we're actually over 2.5 football fields away at our nearest point. So again, just coming down to our experience with development and property management, these are all issues that we see constantly at all of our properties and have become experts at dealing with.
To reiterate or to expand upon that, we are used to being able to tell our tenants that if there is a parade, for instance, they are advised that if they have to leave, that they should leave in advance and not return until a certain period of time. So it's all, as Mike said, it's all about communication with the tenants and how we approach that. Most of the young professionals that tend to live in these type of communities, they like the activity. And why we like this particular location, you know, is that it is next to a park. It is close to a grocery store and community buildings across the street. So it's in a vibrant area. To move it somewhere else, you know, then all of a sudden you're losing a lot of those amenities, you know, from a perspective of our residents. And, you know, as you do know, we're talking about $460-some thousand in impact fees to help with the parks. And when we did some renderings also of this building, this is not really a good representation. If you went back to where the band shell is and you took a picture, the building, you can hardly see the top of the buildings from, you know, from that particular point of the park. We did one that was much lower, shooting up to the buildings. I don't know if you have that.
I don't think it's.
Yeah.
No, that's not the one.
Yeah, I guess we don't have that, but basically you only see from the actual park area where the band shell is, you can only see the very tops of the buildings. And they were hidden because of how they sit on the property and
yeah,
the fact that we're 2.5.
I don't think it's on there.
Football fields away, but.
And to elaborate on that, a couple of the things that make it so difficult to see from that distance is our site actually sits 12 feet lower topographically than the baseball fields and the rest of the park. So that takes 12 feet off it right from the beginning, and we do plan to leave all of the existing foliage, as you can see in the rendering here, that hides most of that. From a human perspective, sitting at the band shell, you can only see about 10 feet at the top of the building.
Okay.
In perspective, I think it's really close in the same height as our police station.
Correct.
The top of the police station and the top of this about the same height. Maybe 10 feet. But
What is the proposed annual tax
station.
revenue to the city?
Approximately $800,000 per year.
Okay.
Plus, and that's only in the first year.
Mhm.
Which would go to repay the TIF.
Yeah, I mean, and basically it comes down to how you structure the TIF and how the lender wants to do it too. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways of doing that. One might be where obviously 100% of the increment, excess increment could go to pay down the loan from, let's say, a bank, for that funding. Or, depending on how we structure it, we might be able to participate with the city a certain portion of, and, so it wouldn't be, or you would start seeing some of that excess increment from day one. It just comes down to the negotiations with the funding source for the TIF.
That's intriguing.
And then
That is intriguing.
it extends the TIF as well, correct?
Yeah, yes, it would be a reasonable TIF, and, but the way it works is it's the developer that's really on, we are the ones that are personally guaranteeing the TIF to the lender. So we could look at the possibility of trying to increase a shared portion of the increment going to the city over the life, and I think we were looking at somewhere around 12 to 13 years, which is what's left on that particular district.
And that's significantly shorter than your average TIF.
Yeah, normally we amortize these over a 20-year period. In this situation, we are dovetailing it into your existing TIF structure.
Okay. Any other questions for anybody?
The West Dallas apartment, are you guys at capacity?
Yes, and we have a 34-person wait list as of today.
Okay. Well, and to be fair, the structure of where State Fair is, the amphitheater there is far, farther away than the amp is here, and there are bleachers to barrier the noise. But I do understand
Correct.
the mention of the crowd and the influx and the traffic.
Yeah. And from time to time, though it's not as active as before, they still have races, and from time to time, and we have not had any issues with our residents when it comes to.
You'd agree that that's pretty urban environment there.
They're used.
On Greenfield and National, I mean, it's,
Right.
I mean, the houses are right next to each other. There's not a lot of green space
Yeah.
whatsoever around there at all. And there's not really a park other than State Fair Park.
Apples and oranges.
Kind of, I think.
Yeah,
No
apples and
offense,
oranges.
but it is.
It's apples and oranges.
Complaints about the racetrack from a longtime homeowners down the street from that, but that, again, that just argues the point that.
I grew up there, so yeah.
People are gonna complain.
Trying to compare apples.
We've had none from our residents.
Is your apartment building the one that has the coffee, does it have a coffee shop on the street?
That's not us.
It's the one that West Dallas required retail on the first floor, and they're having a difficult time doing it because that was the trend at one point, to have retail on the first floor.
Right, yeah. To be fair, that we are in we do have two retailers or restaurants that are now seriously looking at that space, and we anticipate probably having a letter of intent here shortly.
Yeah, that building did open in March of 2020. I think everybody knows what happened that month.
Yeah, it was a bad time.
What was that?
It was a bad time.
Yeah, so that impacted the restaurant, and it actually did not impact the leasing of the apartments. We had projected an 18-month lease-up period to lease up those 203 units, and when we turned over our first units on March of 2020, we filled our last unit 9 months later, in December of that same year. So that leased up twice as quickly as we expected, and in addition, part of the reason that the retail is still vacant is that it is set up for a restaurant use. We've had multiple LOIs from different uses that we didn't feel fit with the image of the property and what we were looking to go after. And so we were aggressively pursuing restaurant groups and, different, bar and restaurant users. And frankly, I do a lot of retail brokerage and retail developments, and what we've been seeing since COVID is, I think everybody knows that a lot of restaurants had to close their doors during COVID. There is still to this day an excess of vacant restaurant space available due to that. And to build a restaurant is hundreds of thousands of dollars. A hood itself over a fryer or anything like that costs in excess of $50,000 itself before you do anything else. So for a lot of these new restaurants that have been moving, that have been opening up, moving into an existing or what we call second generation restaurant space has been significantly more economical. And now that those spaces are filling up, we're seeing a lot more activity at our retail.
Okay, all right, so, again, these two can't vote. You guys can vote, you're the regularly seated members.
I just have a quick question for Christie on the C2. What kind of businesses could we get in there? Just an idea.
She did.
She did that earlier.
Yeah, I know, if we could see that again.
Sure.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor? Is it possible as a resident to make a comment if the developer was able to make a comment?
So technically, you're supposed to make your comments at the public hearing. It's the way that it's supposed to work, okay?
Okay.
We're supposed to, as a planning commission, objectively
Uses
look
within
at
permitted.
the zoning issue and the site landscaping and make those kind of like technical determinations,
just
which
go
are
in there, right?
recommendations,
Okay.
right?
And when will that be?
And then the public hearing is
August 16th.
August
Money
16th.
to
You
buy
can,
food.
so you can go to our website, all my electronics have died while I've been sitting up here. There's the hearings,
Hearings at greenfieldwi.us, yeah.
Be able to find
email.
it.
Yeah, it's.
yeah, so if
I
you
can
find
pull it
that,
up.
you can submit your comments to hearings at greenfieldwi.u, whatever that was.
Okay,
Or you can attend the public hearing in person,
okay, thank you.
and it's here.
He's here if he wants to make a brief comment.
Just one, so. Mr., so this isn't agended at some
Just one quick question about the parking.
parking?
It wasn't discussed, the fact that they're proposing less parking than is required by the city.
There's more.
Right, it's in the staff report, right?
That changed? Because the staff report I have says. that
Staff
they're-
report has not changed, no. You're right, that's mentioned on page 13.
Yes.
Yep. Development is required to provide 558 spaces, provides 465. It's a shortage of 93
There's a shortage of 93?
per code, correct, yep. And, let's see here, for comparison, I think I mentioned,
Is that what you're referring to? There's a shortage of,
Better than Milwaukee is just not allowing any in their latest
well,
approved
so
one.
can I just tell you that daily I get emails about we don't want to be Milwaukee, just so everybody's clear about that, and I don't want to be Milwaukee either. So I just don't.
I
Well, we're
don't
Greenfield,
either,
right?
but,
We are Greenfield. We are
It doesn't-
Greenfield.
Yeah.
We are in Milwaukee County, unfortunately.
just
okay,
have a
then I'll compare against Muskego,
Quick
because they have
question,
apartments
developers,
right
does
next to their
these
parks.
Yeah, and they have a lot of green space.
apartment
have a lot of
have their
green
own
space.
washer
Not
and
where the
dryer?
apartments are being built.
Okay.
Drive out there.
Maybe. Okay. Are you, somebody doing something?
Why are we doing, what are we doing?
I don't know what we're doing.
I was
Okay.
just looking to how to send that email. Obviously, I've never done it myself.
Okay, motion to approve the rezoning change by Commissioner Rogers, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kastner. Would you please call?
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Steve Rogers. Brian Weiss.
Aye.
Don Carlson.
Aye.
Dave Schultz.
No.
Bob Krenz.
Aye.
Mayor Knightsky.
No.
Okay.
I was
So
wrong.
we have a 5
There's a positive recommendation.
5 to 2, correct. And was that 7A? Are we doing them together? Doing them together? Was the motion for 7A and 7B?
I'm okay with
It
that.
was A.
It was A only, okay.
Yeah, we have not gone through the architectural stuff. You happy with the architecture?
I already expressed mine, I think it's lacking.
Okay, so let's go to 7B.
Okay.
I'd make a comment that I agree with Brian, that I just wish it had a little bit more
Pizzazz?
pizzazz style.
It needs to look better.
Having said that, I will make a motion to approve.
I will second with the hopes that, I didn't see the actual greenage on the front that you guys promised. Is that there?
Yeah, it's on page.
The green
So this is.
elements within the front concrete that you see from Layton?
Yes.
You did add that?
It's on page 12.
Which rendering do you want me to go to?
Slide 25 there. And there's also a landscape.
Okay.
So you can see on the sides of the windows, there are different shades of green attached with those window units. I think it's a little difficult to see in this exact photo.
Okay, I'm thinking more on that wall that's towards Layton.
It's probably clear in the elevations.
Randy, which one do you want me to go to?
The elevations up, like those two in the.
The bottom left.
Here?
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, more of that.
Is that brick or what is that? What is
No,
that?
it's,
What is it? Brick?
This is brick. Yeah, the
Brick?
cream color is brick. This internal courtyard is hardy plank siding.
Yeah, so anything that you see the lighter color, that's a cream city brick. And then there is the darker siding, and then you can see alongside the windows, that's where we have the decorative colored panels that kind of are infilled around the windows.
As long as you, I'm here and I'm babbling all night. The way I would improve the aesthetics of this is I'd put eyebrows above the patio doors.
Yeah, we can, I mean.
You
we
know what
can-
I'm saying? Some metal eyebrow that would give you
Sure,
some
yeah.
kind of a shelter and baffle the noise a little bit and just help the overall aesthetics of the building. Probably wouldn't be a huge expense. It probably is a huge expense, but everything else I can think of would probably be more.
Yeah, that's true. We've done that on previous projects.
Yeah, I
That's
think
something-
that would help the aesthetics of the building. Other than that, I really, compared to other municipalities, rural municipalities, not Milwaukee, I think this is a very good-looking building for this location, and I think it will be standing there for a very long time. And it'll be appreciated for a very long time.
I love the project. I would love to see a lot of upgrades of this, kind of across. You look at some of the higher end things that we've seen built recently. I think this falls short. I'm a big fan of the project, don't get me wrong. I can't vote yes for this because what I see here is gonna be here for a long time.
Yeah.
We see the opposition. I would like to see a much better looking building. I can't support this building. I support the project. I can't support the building.
It's better looking than A4 South.
Well, I mean, where the blacked out things are above the windows, those used to be transoms, right? But those window prices have gotten really expensive, so now they're just hardy plank, right?
It was part of the design process to kind of work in
To value
the material all the way around the building, so.
Spandel? Are they spandel glass?
No, that's not spandrel glass.
No,
That would
above
be,
this stuff would have been a transom
Right here?
historically.
yeah, that would be cement board.
Okay.
The one that's cheaper than a transom, right?
Yes.
Which is what you normally would have done if.
It
windows
was never
were
designed as a
$1,000.
transom. There's actually floor plate behind there, so the ceiling runs into that. So it's, the idea was to make the windows appear larger than they are, although they could never be that large.
So you don't look like you just have tiny windows on a
Right.
big wall.
And those are pretty large windows. They're not tiny
I'm
windows.
yeah, I'm sure they are, yeah. But from the building scale, it would look better.
Exactly, that was the intention.
Not like they did down the street.
Right.
They gave us windows up there and then they took them away.
So my take on this is I agree with Commissioner Weiss, but I think it's, with a better looking design, I still think it's in the wrong place.
Understood. We agreed to disagree.
I think we picked up on that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So Carl, your suggestion for eyebrows above the windows still,
I still think that would help.
Stands,
And
okay.
they seem like they are understanding of that.
okay.
So what are your thoughts on, I mean, so you guys haven't said much. Do you have thoughts? What would you
On
do?
the architectural plan?
On both, I mean, you're,
Well, I don't think it's the right place for an apartment, but I think the minimalist design is kind of what's in right now, which is what this is.
so you like the design, but you don't like the place? Or you,
Yeah, I do like the design. I think the awnings will kind of make it look busy.
this is her third meeting, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to garner some kind, I'm just trying to make her more confident to talk during meetings, because it's hard to talk for the first few.
We're happy to be the guinea pig. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the concept or the design, but I just don't like the location.
You got comments?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the design overall. I'm not a fan of the green either, but, I mean, I don't know, I'm guessing you use that to try to tie in all that green space. I don't know what the rationale was at, but, yeah, I'm not overall. I think it could be designed a bit better, but.
Was there mention last meeting of grass on the roof, or am I making that up?
No, you can see, especially in this rendering where the stairs go up, that is actually an outdoor plaza space that contains amenities for the residents.
Okay.
Both buildings have a courtyard that's occupied. One of them has a swimming pool and the other one has like a fire pit and grill stations. There you can see a better idea.
Cool.
So I'm not gonna change my, my motion to approve, but, talking about the appearance, just kinda having a hard time thinking that those colored panels are gonna look good 10 years down the road. I mean, I'm kinda faddish right now, but I don't think fads are good long-term, because everything changes so fast, and so.
Yeah, you have to be very careful with your color selection. That not to happen. So we try to be very mindful of that.
And then the green, plant foliage coming down those walls, it looks great now. Just really hope that that can be maintained. And in Wisconsin, it's really hard to keep stuff like that looking good, right? But it looks good in the picture, so.
Will you allow dogs?
Yes, you'll. Yeah, we actually have a dog run on the property and grooming station inside the building.
So you think a lot of those people walk their dogs in the park?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think generally, right, the park doesn't allow
I can't take my
overall
dog
without a leash.
to the
right?
playground.
Yeah,
I don't know, that whole thing is
Oh.
changing because we're having a dog picnic.
I mean, not that it doesn't happen, right? I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. I have a dog. I have walked my dog in a park. However, there
Have you?
are.
I've never walked my dog.
That's illegal.
Well, however,
Just kidding.
I'm saying that there are signs, right?
It
So,
is
I
not
know it's
illegal,
semantics,
only
but-
during
It's only
big
only
events.
during events and only during the farmer's market.
Yes, and there was dogs at the
Do what I
farmer's market
want.
last Sunday.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so
Kidding.
Sure.
That goes around the entire perimeter of the building.
Okay.
We can use that, and we can certainly advise our tenants, you know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, communicate with our tenants that, walking in the park is.
Yeah.
And we encourage you to use our dog run for our own built-in walking paths.
You know, I do have a question. Where will all the rain runoff go? Because we're putting all that attention into the river and the pond back there. What's the plan?
Yeah, we've got somebody from our engineering team who can speak to this more if you have questions, but we do actually have holding tanks underneath the parking lot where the stormwater will be kept and then released into the creek while regulated.
I'm excited. I really am.
Oh, okay, so this is on the, with the site landscape and architectural plans. I think it's too dense, I think it's in the wrong place. That's where I'm at. Okay, we ready? Everybody ready to go?
Motion and a second, I believe, on it.
Okay, could you call?
Correct. Alderperson Kastner.
Aye.
Steve Rogers. Brian Weiss.
No.
Don Carlson.
Aye.
Dave Schulz.
Nope.
Bob Krenz.
Aye.
Mayor Knightsky.
No. You guys want 2 cents, yes or no?
Doesn't matter, but no,
Okay, doesn't count.
it doesn't count.
Yeah.
All right,
Same difference.
yes or no? Yes?
I like the plan. I just
Cool.
don't like the location. So we're opposite on that one part.
Very good. All right,
I just want to point out that I'm very passionate about my city, and just everyone realizes that my mother is celebrating her 93rd birthday tonight without me with the rest of my family. Just because I want to be here to make our city better.
so I just want to be clear too, that just because I disagree with all of you, right? No, so like politics today, right? It's like, oh, you son of a bitch, you disagree with me, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna find your cat, I'm gonna drown him in a garbage can, right? No, it's pretty rough out there, guys. I'm telling you. I'm just.
Well, we've been together 25 years. I think we can gain over.
No,
anything.
as well. So, but but I am very proud within this. I am very proud within the city that the discussion is on the issue and it's not a personal attack on somebody else. Even though I intend to personally attack Carl in the parking lot after this meeting.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Just kidding. No, 15, 20 years ago when we had common council meetings and stuff, there were literally fights, right? Like real fights, like outside, out that door.
Social media will make it even more interesting when that happens.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
video
I don't know
where
if
it
it
didn't
defers
happen.
it or what it did, but I don't know.
We still got.
So my computers are off. So okay, that passed. Community Development Manager report.
Oh,
I don't really have anything right now.
Yeah. From what I understand, there's some activity on the corner of 84th and Layton that will be coming up, and maybe some of the other vacant sites at 84 South. You've already talked about 92nd Street, where this might be appropriate as well. Just saying.
Spring Mall, somebody buy Spring Mall.
Spring Mall, it sounds like Brixmore has picked somebody.
Ogden?
I don't think. Did you?
No? Yeah, you should have used 11%.
Did they?
I think, I'll wait for the public release. There's contracts and stuff for that.
Gotcha.
Over at Loomis and Layton, on the south side of the freeway, we see a lot of big piles of dirt. The storm trap system is going in there. I think they're digging the pits right now to put the big concrete catacomb things in to catch the storm water. This week, I think tomorrow, the bids are coming in for the improvements at Conkle Park and the pond and all that stuff, so hopefully that goes well.
Bike trail?
The bike trail this year, the first, so on Urban Milwaukee, if you guys read that ever, that's like the best source of stuff. So Greenfield has been trying for a very long time to put the Powerline Trail in. If you go now between 105th and 60th.
3 miles.
It's about 3 miles. That trail is actually being installed right now. It's the first leg of it. I've been misspeaking. Next year, there won't be any expansion.
Funds
But
have
in
to catch
2
up.
years, we've received the grant to improve that, or extend it from 60th all the way to roughly 35th. In urban Milwaukee recently, they talked about West Dallas doing it off the 105th leg along the freeway. And we've had some contact with some people from the Airport Business Improvement District that want to improve or expand the Powerline Trail from 35th all the way to the lakefront. So it's a really cool thing.
That will tie the oak leaf to the oak leaf.
Something that you and I and you forever have been trying to do. I mean, Jeff Stone was once an alderperson in our community, moved to Greendale, had 3 kids, 18 grandchildren, all this other stuff. He's the one that started it way back when. It's taken this long to get that done. So, yeah. It was more than, yeah, when I was an alderperson, they'd been talking about it for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's finally going in, and I think that'll be a dramatic improvement.
Non-greenfield items that I took my grandsons to the Whitmill Gardens, the kids' garden.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I was stunned, amazed at how incredible that is. That's just outstanding.
It's geared towards kids, so I can see why you.
There's some great stuff that's going on around us, right? So.
Mr. Mayor, next month is
The
election
church
day
without a
on the
permit,
9th.
without a permit too. No permit or anything. I was,
Oh, no, it wouldn't be a problem, but you expanded it so much.
yeah. Shouldn't have paved your front yard.
Yeah.
but-
Next
You have a
month-
lot of green space, don't you?
Not
Green space
anymore.
green space is precious, isn't it? Yeah. So anybody that's watching this, anybody that sees the minutes, I just want to make sure that everyone knows in the minutes, we should probably put the hearings thing, because there are a number of people that were here tonight that I think were interested in this item, that I haven't really given the opportunity to speak, other than the one with regard to parking.
I'm sure social media will let them know.
So, well, just, so the big date.
Everything on
for
social
public
media
input-
is absolutely good.
No, it's not. trust me.
That's all relative.
Mr. Mayor?
August 16th is the public hearing, right? That's when you talk about it, and that's when it matters. And that's when the 4 alderpersons are sitting up here, and that's when they make their decision.
I will not read social media.
Next month is Election Day on the 9th, so I already talked to Christie about being excused. I'll be working the polls over at the community center.
Elections are so much fun, just so everybody knows that all the rules and Dropbox rules and all this stuff that's happening is not, it's just saying.
So that postcard I got in the mail today isn't free to send out?
Well, no, the postcard that you got in the mail that was addressed to a Milwaukee address that came from our city because the post office doesn't recognize Greenfield as actually a municipality. But yeah, that creates a little bit of problems, and it creates phone calls to me saying, "How do I know? Well, you know, I don't live in Milwaukee. I live in Greenfield. Why'd you say this? Why can't you get this right?" So I've written a very long and detailed letter, email again to Senator Baldwin's office, who had been working on it for me, and legislator Congressman Fitzgerald, who I spent almost an hour one day bending his ear about it. It's a very challenging situation that the post office cannot place the proper municipality name on an address.
You think we could
And you can't go to
override
Best
that
Buy and
program?
open up a credit card where it says Greenfield instead of Milwaukee. And you can't get your concealed carry permit on the website and go through one of that thing without having Greenfield. Greenfield doesn't exist, only Milwaukee does. So you're kind of lying about where you live. I mean, it's just ridiculously stupid, but we're trying. If we can get that done, then my life is a success.
There you go.
Thank you.
You better set your sights a little lower, Mike.
Christie, anything else? I'll make a motion.
Mine says
to
Greenfield
adjourn.
too, but when you
I
go on the
was-
site, there's some other things that you have to fill in for drop-down menus.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Guys are awesome. Thank you for being there.
How's it going selling your house?
It's sold.
Really? Wow. Congratulations.
I did.
Hey, what's Dallas? You didn't like Springbok?